All right, we are recording and this will be posted to our PlanFirst website. So you can check that. And let me share screen here. And if y'all could do me a favor, if you are not actively speaking, please mute yourself. And I do encourage you guys, if you do have a question, to unmute yourself. You can interrupt me throughout this presentation today. All right, let's see if we can get there. All right, someone let me know. Can you see the screen okay?
Yeah, we can.
Thank you, Julie. For those that I haven't met, like I said, I'm Daniel Gaddis. I'm the Planning Outreach Coordinator. I joined DCA in December of 2023, and my experience includes time as a planner and economic development project manager in the Metro Atlanta area. I've also been a consultant working with federal grants, public power, and energy efficiency programs, but I'm really glad to be doing working with local governments in Georgia. So today's webinar is all about the PlanFirst program. And PlanFirst program, we have these deadlines. We have April 15th coming up, so very soon. April 15th is the date by which you must check your eligibility. And I know many people in this room have already checked their eligibility. We've had dozens of local governments around the state check their eligibility. It's a very simple process, and it's so simple that I'm actually, if you haven't checked it yet, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to do that right now. So go ahead and open up your email browser, your email application, and then in the to line, I want you to type in there planning@dca.ga.gov. In the subject line, I'm going to ask you to put your local government and just so for example, if it's City of Douglas, say City of Douglas, PlanFirst eligibility. In the body of the email, in the body section, just simply type good morning. If you're feeling crazy, you can throw an exclamation point in there. I'm checking the eligibility for, insert your local government's name, for PlanFirst. Good morning. I'm checking the PlanFirst eligibility for my community of. Thank you. Send. Simple as that. If you've already done that, you don't have to worry about doing it. And then the full application is due on May 15th. Okay, so today's agenda, we're covering the why. We're going to be talking about the incentives. We're going to be talking about specifically what the PlanFirst applications assess. We're going to cover some tips and tricks. We're going to talk about a success story of a PlanFirst community. We're going to cover some data from recent renewal applications. If you're a community that's looking to renew this year, you want to learn about some scoring from the renewal applications, then you'll want to stay on for this. Then we're going to go finish up with the new applications. The renewal and the new applications are different. And so if you're just a renewal community and you're here just want to learn about renewing, you're an active PlanFirst community and you want to try for that renewal, you can feel free to drop the call after we cover the data from the renewal. You're feel free to stay though the whole time if you'd like. Does that sound good to y'all? All right.
Sounds great.
Thank you. So the why, what is it? Put simply, PlanFirst Community is one that is recognized by the state of Georgia's Department of Community Affairs for implementing your comprehensive plan in an exemplary way. Through a community's goals, leadership, public participation, and implementation of your plan, communities that are designated a PlanFirst community are going above and beyond what is required to make sure that you're keeping effective planning a very high priority. Several great reasons why you may want to apply, each of which may be different for different communities. This last circle here, LIHTC and other DCA programs, shows some newest incentives that we're very excited about. For applications for both the 4% and 9% LIHTC housing tax credits, if the proposed development falls within the boundaries of a PlanFirst community, then that development, that application is eligible for an additional 3 points. And if you're in a community where a housing authority and developers are working to address housing shortages, then applying for this designation simply for this one incentive is well worth the effort. Oftentimes, these highly competitive LIHTC applications are decided by fractions of a point. And we're going to dive into these incentives a little bit more deeply. Propose you guys listen closely because there may be a quiz after this. As we think about the suite of benefits that are available to PlanFirst communities, the architects of this program inserted benefits for communities of all sizes, all needs, and demographics. We know that Georgia's communities are diverse, and we've reflected that diversity in this program's design and benefits. So number one, statewide recognition by DCA. The use of the PlanFirst logo, announcements on the website and DCA social media, an invitation to the Capitol for Planning Day at the Capitol, recognition in the state Senate and state House resolution honoring your community, and we're hoping to once again have a photo opportunity with Governor Kemp. Well, actually, next year will be a new governor. We also want to tout your successes and tell your story as a PlanFirst community. We have our PlanFirst communities submit a success story or share their successes on a success story webinar. And this can look like a housing project in your community, stormwater infrastructure improvements, improved transportation, maybe an economic development project. Maybe you have some downtown redevelopment or improved parks in your community. And we want to celebrate your successes at the state level, and we want to invite communities to learn about what you did that overcame challenges, how you engaged with your community, how you tapped critical stakeholders, and how you were a leader in your region. This is probably one of the biggest benefits in the PlanFirst incentive package: annual access to community development block grants. If you're not a PlanFirst community, then you can apply to CDBG funding every other year. If you're a PlanFirst community, you can do it every year. I mentioned this, the 3 bonus points on LIHTC. LIHTC stands for Low Income Housing Tax Credit. And this is applicable to both the 4% application and the 9% application. We're also really excited about the 3 bonus points that are available on CHIP, Community Home Investment Program. This is a federally funded program, and it provides grants to city and county governments, public housing authorities, and nonprofits to renovate affordable single-family homes for sale to eligible home buyers. Funding limits for CHIP is $500,000 for housing rehabilitation and $1.5 million for new construction and reconstruction of affordable single-family homes. We also get a 1% reduction on DCA loans. These include the Employment Incentive Program, EIP, it's Employment Incentive Program, the Redevelopment Fund, and the Downtown Development Revolving Loan Fund, DDRLF. Additionally, access to the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority state loans at a 0.5% reduction rate on water and sewer loans. As an example of this benefit, the interest rate savings over the life of a 20-year water or sewer loan that is over $1 million can be hundreds, that are over $3 million, excuse me, can be hundreds of thousands of dollars over the life of the loan. And for over 21 years now, the Georgia Planning Association and the Department of Community Affairs have partnered to provide uh, a Community Planning Institute, CPI for short. It's a 2-day workshop that we hold biannually. It's aimed at planning commissioners, elected officials, and city and county staff on all things comprehensive planning, how to best utilize DCA funds, and to share success stories of planning initiatives in Georgia communities. And we're just coming off of our spring CPI that we had about 35 attendees from 10 of our 12 regions across the state. They attended in Brunswick just a couple of weeks ago, and we had a wonderful time together. And I know many people on this call were at that CPI. In case you're a visual person, here are these incentives that you guys can see in a different way than just hearing me yammer on about it. And of course, infinity satisfaction points of being a PlanFirst community. I've encouraged our active PlanFirst communities to place the PlanFirst logo in their email signature. And here we have the PlanFirst email signature badge in the wild. And this signals to all internal and external stakeholders that your community is serious about public engagement, accomplishing goals, and casting a community-held vision for the future. This PlanFirst badge is used pretty widely on communities' websites, and we're hopeful that this can be a conversation starter and can facilitate some learnings about best practices in planning. I mentioned, I mentioned the planning day at the Capitol. Here's an example from 2020, and that was actually the last time that we were able to secure a photo with Governor Brian Kemp. I've tried my best, but have not been able to nail down his schedule in the last few years when we did this. Besides the photo opportunity and a plaque given out by Commissioner Nunn, these communities are also recognized by a House and Senate resolution. And it's my hope that as we have this planning day at the Capitol opportunity to meet with legislators, that we can facilitate more discussion from our communities and their state legislators about planning issues. This was taken this year. You can see Larry Hansen and our new Deputy Commissioner, Kim Carter there, and we had a great turnout from our new PlanFirst communities for this year. And this was a very excited city manager of the city of Brunswick, Miss Regina McDuffie, and we were handing out grab bags and giving the plaques out, so she was really pumped. This is a couple of years ago, but as you can see, this is the city of Ackworth, and they are meeting with their state legislators. And here is Warner Robins, Augusta, City of Alma, City of Monroe, Ackworth again. This is City of Camilla, City of Griffin. So we have a great time together. 27 active PlanFirst communities across the state. They look different sizes. So this is a program for everybody. Now, I ask you guys to check your eligibility. There are some pretty strict regulations on who can even be considered to be part of this program. For number one is qualified local government status. You can't have lost a qualified local government status more than 45 days over 2 plan cycles, and you can't have lost QLG status more than twice within 2 plan cycles. Plan cycles are every 5 years, so that is over 10 years. Can't have lost QLG status for more than 45 days, and you can't have lost QLG status for more than 2 times in a 10-year period. This program at its core is about the comprehensive plan, so making sure that you meet all your plan submission deadlines is key to your eligibility. Additionally, you must have a verified service delivery strategy, and you must have submitted the required annual surveys for the GOMI, Government Management Indicators, as well as the Report of Local Government Finances, RLGF. And as you may already know, we also require an applicant community to adhere to your regional commission's minimum performance standard. So every regional commission publishes a regional plan, and every regional commission has minimum performance standards that is tailored to your specific region. So check with your regional commission about if you're meeting your minimum standards for your regional commission. So you might be wondering what the application is even asking about, and by what metrics are the communities being judged. For the new application, it's helpful to view it into 4 major buckets. That's goals, leadership, participation, and implementation. We're going to talk about all of those briefly. For goals, the application is trying to suss out, are the goals in your community, are they being enjoyed by the community and the leadership support? Is your community reaching for aspirational and ambitious goals? Are your goals also achievable? Are your goals in your comprehensive plan actually moving the needle on decision making? And are you making consistent progress on your goals? On the leadership indicator, we want to know, how is planning done effectively with your leadership? What does your staff makeup look like? Is your planning commission active? Are your local officials, both staff and elected and appointed officials going out and getting the recommended training? Are community leaders being brought to the table? On participation, how is the community being engaged? Is the input that's being received from your community actually being incorporated, or is it just tokenism? Is it just going through the motions? And how is your plan being implemented? How effective has your local government been in implementing the plan? Has your local government been consistently finishing planned projects? And on the application, are there recent finished projects that are highlighted? All right. You may want to know who reviews these applications. So we have One Georgia Authority, which is part of DCA. We also have partner agencies and organizations like ACCG that reviews plans. We have a staffer from the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority, GEFA. We also have Georgia Municipal Association that reviews, as well as the Georgia Archway Partnership. So we have people from all over the state in different and related professions that are going to be reviewing these applications. Additionally, internally, we have our planning, research, and geoanalytics team, and you can see their pictures there that review this. And these are people that have an assortment of credentials and certifications. We have AICP planners, we have a master's degree in planning, we have GIS professionals with years of experience that are all reviewing these applications. Additionally, we have our 12 outstanding regional representatives, regional reps from all over the state, that they're reviewing every single one of these applications. Within DCA, we have our HPD, that's our Historic Preservation Division. We have our Office of Downtown Development. I already mentioned our team, that's the Planning, Research, and Geoanalytics. And most importantly, I think, we have other PlanFirst communities from around the state. They review these plans. This helps share learnings. This helps share ideas that are in the applications that can be shared with other PlanFirst communities. A question I get also very often is um, how many applications actually get designated, and that number it varies wildly. So just give you some numbers here. In 2025, we had 22 applications, and then 14 of those were designated. In 2024, we designated 8 out of 20 applications. And in 2023, we designated 5 of 8 applications. So it varies. So now we're going to get into some tips and tricks. When I asked the team over the last couple of years, um, what advice could you give to an applicant community? This is the refrain I hear most often. The advice that we want to communicate to any applicant is make sure that you read the question completely and answer all parts of the question. Oftentimes you'll have part of an answer, part of the question being answered. So please make sure you take your time and try to answer all the parts of the question. So this question, question E, is indicative of the types of questions that you're going to see on the application. This is a perfect example of a question that often does not get answered in its entirety. Specifically, there's one sentence in here that most people forget about answering completely. And I want y'all to guess. Can anyone guess which sentence gets missed? Is it going to be the red sentence, the blue, or the green? And you can answer that question in the chat. Seeing a lot of blues. Seeing some greens. A couple of reds. Seems pretty resounding. I would say the majority of you all are saying blue, and you are correct. Blue is the one that gets missed the most often. It's a challenging question, so I understand. It's also the second part of the question. So people definitely understand the first part and they finish reading the third part, but they often forget about that second part. Okay. So after reviewing the application several times, this is for the new application, I could say that there's definitely one. If there's a softball question, there's one, and it's question L. This would require that your local government keeps decent records and communicates well. I know that's a big if in some communities, but if provided that you keep good records, this should be simply plugging in known information. This question is one that lends credibility to the idea that starting early will help you be successful. For example, it takes time to track down that steering committee folder and making sure that you have all the information. And if you don't have complete information on your steering committee the last time you did a plan update, you may have to do some Googling. You may have to reach out to some current or former staffers. You may have to make some calls and send some emails to get all the information. And I want you to notice that this question, like most questions on the application, are multi-part. If you're going to be starting your comprehensive plan process and you may be interested in something like a PlanFirst designation, make it a best practice to keep a folder full of all your information about who, when, and where you meet, particularly around the steering committee. Okay, so more tips and tricks. I already mentioned this as the number one advice. Read the question carefully and make sure you answer the question asked in its entirety. Don't neglect a part of the answer, as the reviewers are trained to make sure that all parts are answered. At the most fundamental level, this is a designation for a Georgia community that demonstrates exemplary comprehensive planning. Although adjacent or related planning efforts may merit mentioning, and it's great that you're doing those things, keeping your answers on this application tied to the comprehensive plan is the most important idea. Thirdly, reviewers like to see the correct section referenced. This helps contextualize your answers and helps everyone make a reference to your comprehensive plan to follow up. We all know that stories resonate better when accompanied by images. Do you have a new park, new streetscaping, or maybe an innovative downtown seating project? Show them to us. Are you working on stormwater improvements? Show us that. Most of the reviewers of your applications can't go in person to your community. So tell us and show us. Be thoughtful and be thorough in your answers. Don't be vague and short. Some more tips. Revisit the application regularly throughout the year. Allow the application to provide ideas for your community's implementation of the comp plan. For example, question N is, after adoption of your local comprehensive plan, what active, ongoing outreach processes have you used to solicit input on planning matters from a cross-section of your community? If you're thinking through a new corridor study or have received an application for a large-scale rezoning, consider how you are engaging with the public. Are you utilizing creative methods to solicit feedback from a variety of stakeholders? Next, this application for both the renewal and the new is robust. And just like when we were in school, we can all tell when a test or paper was part of a cram session and the answers were hammered out the night before, powered by Red Bull and vending machine food. Allow several weeks to gather the information you need, and this will help your answers be as clear and thoughtful as can be. Also, starting early will give you a time to go through several reviews, which we all know will result in a better product. This brings me to the third part. Allow your application to be reviewed by others that you trust. Have your reviewers check for consistency in grammar, syntax, and check for quality of content. Sometimes when working on a project like this, it's easy to get tunnel vision about a certain answer. Others can help provide a fresh perspective and can help you focus your answers to make them easier to understand and to allow your point to come across in a cogent, concise way. This last tip on examples is probably a make or break point. After reviewing several applications, answers, and reviews, one of the biggest positives and negatives are examples. The positive is when a great example is provided, and a negative is when examples are not provided. And reviewers score those applications very harshly when examples are not provided. When quality examples are provided, reviewers take note and tend to score very highly. You probably won't be designated as a PlanFirst community if quality examples are not provided. I mentioned this earlier, but we know that our Georgia communities are doing good things. Good storytelling can be augmented by pictures. Review your community work program, your CWP, and then take a drive around your community. Take photos and upload them along with your application. Take several photos and then keep the best one. This is going to stimulate your thinking and will be a huge help on boosting your application's chances. So going through our reviewer responses, I provided you guys some sampling on some of the lowest rated questions. And so we're going to read a couple of those. I'm not going to read all of them, but you can see here, this backs up what I said about examples and supporting documentation. These are potentially great partnerships, but it's not clear how they advocate for the plan. They give one example of this at the end. How do they affect the community leader decisions? Second one is they just mentioned citizens in general, and they only gave one example. Vague examples. Reviewers definitely want recent, accurate examples and supporting documentation. Lessons learned. Be specific. Regional commissions can be a great benefit in help filling out the application. Greg Boyke knows his way around a PlanFirst application. Answers have changed somewhat over the years. Focus is now more on how they're achieving their goals by planning rather than look how amazing our community is. On the topic of renewals, I think sometimes our communities, Greg is the GOAT, our communities think that when you're a PlanFirst community that renewal is an automatic, and absolutely that's not the case. Renewals do require you to continue to implement your comprehensive plan and requires a really good application. All right, so we are going to, before we dive into some of the data, we're going to talk about a success story. And you guys who have heard me do this presentation know that City of Douglas is just so impressive to me. Their staff, their leadership, the community, and the way that they have worked to build extremely competent, incredible partnerships across the region is just exemplary in all the ways. And this is a community that takes their comprehensive planning very seriously. City of Douglas is one of our PlanFirst superstars. It's a four-time designee. They're an active PlanFirst community. And this is an example of a small rural town. This is roughly of 12,000 people in population. It's down in southern Georgia, and it's the county seat of Coffee County. And again, I mentioned four-time PlanFirst. It's just a very rare company to be four-time designee. So you can see that this community went after some incentives, and the employment incentive program back in 2017. And then remember that incentive that you can apply annually for the community development block grant. Here they did it in 2018, nearly $500,000. They applied the very next year and received an award for $374,000. And they did it again. They did the three-peat, and $750,000 to address mental health for a public facility. They continued to win CDBG awards. 2022, they needed to upgrade their wastewater treatment plants, so they're saving $170,000 on interest rate savings on a 20-year loan because they're PlanFirst status. Housing for CDBG, and then they were one of the few communities, well, actually one of the only communities in the state that's a PlanFirst community that received those bonus points that we mentioned at the top of the presentation. Douglas has been extremely active, even outside of these PlanFirst available funds. And truly, they are demonstrating how a local government can push activities that align with their community's vision and goals. This is a residential area in Douglas, and they made some street improvements, some water, there's some sewer and street improvements with community development block grant funds. And this is that $750,000 to benefit a mental health facility. The city of Douglas recognized that, like many communities in our state, substance abuse and mental health issues are challenges that needed to be addressed in their community. And so in 2020, they were awarded $750,000 to address these issues and estimated to benefit nearly 1,000 people in the city, local employers, and most importantly, the residents of Douglas all stand to gain from this facility and the services it offers. So it's a great success story of how a PlanFirst community can take advantage of the incentives. All right, we're going to take a brief pause. Any questions so far before I transition into some of the data on recent applications?
How many questions are on the application?
That is a great question, Perry, and they differ, renewal versus new, and I actually don't know that number off the top of my head, but I can get it to you in the next few seconds. Yes, the PlanFirst designation is available to counties as well. Okay, so for the new application, it goes from A to letter R.
Are all questions?
So that is 18 questions.
Do all questions have multiple within each question?
Does each question have multiple parts? Is that your question?
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but most of them do. I'd have to go back and read them all. It's a deep dive. Good question. Most of them do.
Thank you.
Yes, if the GFA loan is on the new incentive reduction, it's on new loans. So you can't do a kind of a refinance, so to speak. Great question from Kelly Murray. If you were an active PlanFirst community, but your renewal application was not approved, do you apply for renewal again, or will you be required to submit? That's a great question. We get that all the time. If you were not renewed and you have a year or more in between your status, you do have to apply for a new designation. So if you were not designated and a year passes and you're applying for the next cycle, you would need to apply for a new application. I did see a hand raised. And I can't see who that is. So if you don't mind unmuting yourself and asking the question. Is that Robert?
Yeah, good morning. We were typing it into the box, but ultimately, I was just curious, is there going to be like a recap or a bullet point of all the critical information of this? Like, we're taking notes, but sometimes the PowerPoint went beyond when we were done. So just wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity.
Yeah, great question, Robert. Yeah, not only is this recording going to be posted on our PlanFirst website, the slide deck will be as well.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So be looking out. This should hit the website within the next 7 to 10 days, hopefully sooner. All right, so we are now going to go into the renewal data, and we're going to talk specifically about some of the questions and some of the answers, and you're going to see some scores and hopefully provide you guys a better feel for how the reviewers.
And Dan, you have one more question in the chat.
Oh, thank you, sir. This is from Michaela. is the CPI registrations per person, as in a community can bring 2 people in spring, and then they would need to pay the next time? Great question, Michaela. She's talking about the incentive about you get 2 free registrations per plan cycle. And so that is for the local government. So for example, at City of Douglas, they just brought 2, they just got redesignated. And so their plan cycle is 3 years. And so they just brought, or they actually had 1 person can't come to CPI. So that's a free registration for 1. They have 1 more available for their plan cycle, so they can come back in the fall. And then after that, you would pay the price, which is the best value in the state for any local government conference at very low price of $300. Okay.
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so someone asked how many questions is on the PlanFirst application, and you did tell us that there are 18 on the new, but I do not
Yes.
remember you saying how
I
many
did
were
not.
on the renewal.
Yes, and I don't know that off the top of my head. If there's a DCA staffer that can pull up the application that's on this call, I would appreciate that. That would save me having to go and pull up the actual application and count them out. I do not know that on memorize. I'm sorry, but we'll get that to you very shortly.
Thank you.
Okay. So now we're going to be talking about the renewal application. And I want to just point out what we talked about as we covered the goals. You can see an example of question A here. It has multiple part, showing how goals continue to influence decisions. Folks want to see ambitious goals, and we want examples of how your leadership and community supports and endorses. So here is one of our highest scoring questions over the last 3 years. This is from Toccoa. This was a renewal application, and just notice, I'll go back one more time and look at these boxes here. Demonstrate how your goals and vision element continues to push your community to strive for excellence. Your local leadership's work towards ambitious goals. And give examples. Our vision statement states that we will prioritize small town living. Notice how the comprehensive plan is referenced to page number. They specifically say the top goal was the pursuit of infill development.
That's what that is.
It's actually not showing the example. I don't know if somebody else see it, but I'm not seeing it. It just stuck on.
Yeah, and you're out of presentation view. I don't know if that's part of the reason. Yeah, it's not advancing. I think we're on Thomasville.
I think he froze.
Yeah, I think he's frozen.
Yeah.
Or it's a really good trick. It is April Fool's.
I
Right,
was-
Terry.
I think he
No
really-
trick. I think Daniel is frozen, so I'm gonna walk down to his office. There may be a technical glitch here, so if you guys will just hold tight. I'm so sorry that this happened. We'll try to get this up and running in just a minute.
I'm still reeling at that early picture of Zane in a suit with the boutonniere.
My eyes weren't quick enough to see the boutonniere. I did take in the photo.
Is anyone on from Douglasville?
He referenced the Toccoa example. Is there anybody on from Toccoa, just for interest's sake? Just curious. It's where I grew up, so.
Toccoa would be in my territory, and we have done a lot of work with them.
Yeah, I know you're working on the comprehensive plan. I saw the survey and I did take it, being outside the area, and I made sure my family did too. So
Much obliged. We need to get more traction with that one. I'm surprised that we haven't gotten a lot more comments, but also could be one of those situations where everything's just kind of moving along smoothly, I guess.
yeah,
So no one's complaining.
yeah. Well, I'm sure there's questions over the school system. I think that's a iffy issue at the moment. So
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All
yes,
right. Okay. Y'all, it completely froze on me and I was not able to present. So let's try it again. Thank y'all for hanging on. Okay, can you see the screen when talking about Toccoa?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to go back. I see Michaela with the heart emoji. Thank you. So indicator goals, last check, you guys can see indicator goals.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. All right, here we go. Indicator goals. So this question, multiple parts, talks about pushing your community to strive for planning excellence, ambitious goals, and give examples. And so this is our highest scoring question from 2 years ago in the renewal. This is Toccoa. You can see the vision statement talking about small town living and Southern hospitality. You can see references the comprehensive plan, page 11, and then the next box down, you can see Central Business District in our 2021 comprehensive plan was the pursuit of infill development. They went on to provide us additional references, page 23 and 25. You can see it also talks about, please see exhibit 2 below for one of the small ways the city leadership makes an active and involved effort. They gave us numbers, they gave us data. In 2023, 12 new small businesses opened their doors downtown. And they gave us some examples of what those stores were. They talked about the city partnering in this effort and how they had a facade grant for exterior renovations. They repaired the sidewalk in front of the building. They talked about other partners here, that era. With Main Street Toccoa's help, the city workers of Toccoa and the Downtown Development Authority. You can see they were creative. The city's utility department offered free tap fees to new downtown businesses to encourage more economic development downtown. They held numerous events, brought in over 40,000 visitors. They talked about downtown revitalization through city resources, funding, and staff. You can see they crafted a great narrative. They used very specific examples. Reviewers really liked that answer. Again, we're in the renewal application and we're talking about leadership. Here's an example of a question within this indicator, leadership. List local elected and appointed officials. And I really want to point out within the last 3 years. This question is not to talk about your staff. This is talking about elected and appointed. This is a 2024 answer. And you can see, provide us a great table. The individual, what was the course, and when it happened. On the next indicator for participation, this is probably the most challenging aspect of planning, is engaging the public. We want to know, how is your community being engaged? Is the community input actually being incorporated, or is it just tokenism? Highlight any activities around underrepresented groups and voices, and providing that documentation like photos, agendas, sign-in sheets, survey results. Highest scoring question in 2024 on this, and I'm not going to read all of this, I just want to highlight actual data provided, surveys, where it was advertised. They place advertisements in a local laundromat, Salvation Army, and a popular soul food restaurant. Provided us an example of a survey question, and we saw some data accompanied with that. All right.
The city,
Yes, sir.
the city
Harry, go
of
ahead.
Albany has Arbor Day, and I noticed that they had a tree grant giveaway. Does that is that like the same thing? Just giving the trees away?
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what City of Albany's doing for as far as Arbor Day goes, but I mean, they definitely were talking about their Relief Grant. They have a tree planting program in this community,
Mhm.
and this was in line with what the comprehensive plan showed as a goal for the community. And
Yeah, because we give away
specifically,
like 200 trees, and they
that's
gave
wonderful.
away 20. So that's interesting. Good job.
There you go. All right, so we're going to talk about an implementation. The indicator for implementation. This part of the application asks for 5 examples of how the comprehensive plan was implemented. And again, I'm bolding the word recent, because folks really want to see what's happened in your most recent comprehensive plan. Doesn't mean that you can't include, or it wouldn't be helpful to include information that existed previously of your most recent plan example, but this is what gets scored the highest, is the most recent examples. And
Hey,
this,
Daniel, not to cut
yes,
you off, but
sure,
there's some questions in the chat asking, how do you quantify this? This is from a couple minutes ago. And
sure.
then a question that says, is this out of 5? Question mark.
Is this out of 5? So this one in particular is a 10-point question. So I
I think
answer
that
that
was
one.
about one of the other questions though, because this was just a couple
Yes,
minutes ago.
this is out of 5. Yes, good question. The 4.2 out of 5, correct. How is it quantified? We do have a rubric, and the rubric was, we've had actually a couple of different iterations of a rubric, but, and I'm not going to share the rubric because we are continuing to look at it and to gather feedback from the reviewers on it. Essentially, the rubric covers, is this question being answered in its entirety? Is it fulfilling the intent of the question? We do not micromanage our reviewing team. Everyone, we value the fact that we have GIS professionals, we have research analysts, we have economic development professionals, we have AICP planners. We want folks to respond to the answers from their perspective. And so I'll answer the question that way and say, does it fulfill the intent of what we believe is the intent of the question? Is it answered in its entirety? Any other questions, Julie?
Those are the only questions I see.
Thank you. All right, so looking at how effective your local government has been in actually implementing your plan. Are you consistently finishing planned projects? Are you highlighting recent projects? So this is out of 10. This is back in 2024. City of Griffin here scored a 9.1. This one actually did score slightly lower than Tacoa's answer, a 1/10 of a point lower than Tacoa's answer, but I provided you some Tacoa answers already, so wanted to get you one from another designee. Recent projects, tying into the goals, addressing needs and opportunities. Notice how they reference housing goal number 1 on page 98, and they tell us what it is. And incredibly, the City of Griffin, from 2009 to 2018, only 50 new single-family homes were constructed in those 10 years. So this is quite a departure from that time period. Okay. And now we're going to talk about the indicator of impact. We want to know, for renewal applications, how are you taking advantage of the incentives available? Have you been active in continuing to promote your comprehensive plan? And what have your recent efforts around your regional commission's performance standards been like? On this indicator, there are 4 questions. And this one's essentially a yes or no. If you have not sent any of your local government officials, staff, appointed officials or elected officials to CPI, then you're going to score very low on this question, obviously. But we're hopeful that you send folks in your community to this event. It's free outside of the hotel. We want to know what you learned. Here's a great example. This is to go again. We do move around the state for Community Planning Institute. So just to give you an example, since I've been at DCA in 23, we've been at the city of Carrollton, we've been at the city of Dublin, we've been in the city of Columbus, and we just recently went to the city of Brunswick. Last fall, we were up in the city of Young Harris. Previously, before then, we've also been in Atlanta, Jekyll, Helen. We move around a good bit. We try to make that relevant and accessible to local governments around the state. We do it twice a year. Okay. So back in 2023, going back a couple of years, went through all the team reviews and found the lowest scoring question. The lowest scoring question, it was question I. The fact that this was the lowest scoring question tells us that communities aren't really taking advantage of the incentives at the rate that is favorable to reviewers. Or maybe you are taking advantage of the incentives, but you're just not documenting that well in your application. So this was the lowest scoring question in 23. And in 24, question J was the lowest scoring question. And that's, since your initial PlanFirst designation, give 3 examples of how you and your leadership have publicly promoted the local comprehensive plan and fostered local access by making it generally available. By the way, our reviewers have checked our applications, have checked whether your comprehensive plan is on your community's website. And in some cases, the link is provided, but it actually is a broken link. And so I've reached out to those communities and said, hey, your plan is not available because of some technological issues, which I'm obviously very recently well versed in. But just let them know. And in many cases, they didn't even know that they didn't have their plan available on their website. But this could be something that adversely affects your score if it's not available. So that was the lowest scoring question. And this is an example of someone who answered the question quite well.
So Daniel,
Mm-hmm.
before you move on,
Sure.
There's a couple of questions about that lowest scoring question I believe. And what if our communities, and I'm gonna add on there, are there any plans to add additional incentives? So like, even though those are incentives up there, some of our communities still don't qualify for those, to take advantage of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna
Sure.
add that in those 2 right there. You could touch on that.
Let me answer the second question, which was any ideas about further expanding incentives? No, is the short answer. We've just expanded incentives through CHIP and through LIHTC just in the last 2 years. So we're still encouraging communities to understand that, hey, because of your PlanFirst status, you now have access to these other programs at a better rate. You did mention as well, there's some communities are not eligible, and I totally understand that, and we get that. If you're not eligible for some of the CDBG funds, for example, maybe you're an entitlement community that you cannot access, then I think what I would encourage you to do is certainly mention that in your application of, we would certainly like to pursue EIP or redevelopment fund or CDBG, but we're an entitlement community. But with that being said, we have enough. Every community is dealing with housing issues in some level, some way. So we do have housing incentives, and we have many communities that are also looking at water and sewer loans. So we do have diverse incentives, I would say. And additionally, I think one way is, CPI, which I've mentioned earlier, Community Planning Institute. It's a good question, though. I really like what Toccoa said here on the bottom of their answer. They provide copies at the Toccoa Welcome Center, the Toccoa Stevens County Public Library, the Chamber, and they also have met with their local realtors. So they've talked about with their local realtors who provide investors in the community the comprehensive plan to know what the community said is the kind of development that they want to see moving forward. I think that's a creative approach. All right. 2025. The lowest scoring question was that CPI question, and scored a 2.3. I do anticipate in the 2026 application that for renewal communities, we will see this not be the lowest scoring question, because of the 35 attendees down in Brunswick a couple of weeks ago, I feel like half of them were PlanFirst communities. So I definitely feel like the message has been received from our PlanFirst communities and taking advantage of this. All right, last year's application, the 2025 application, this was the highest scoring question. This is question E. And I'm going to show you an example of the highest scoring answer for this after you guys read it. This is about collaborative efforts. Where is collaboration happening? Neighboring communities, with the chamber, your regional commission, or your development authority. Asking for references and page numbers. Also we're asking for letters of support from those partner organizations, being very specific about any collaborative efforts. 4.8 out of 5. It was the city of Dublin last year. I'm going to let y'all read this answer, and I'm going to be quiet for about 30 seconds. All right, it's a long answer, so you can see that they provided us a nice table, the name of the project, who are the partners. They referenced in their comprehensive plan the community goals. They called out the needs and opportunities. And then they described the project. The market on Madison, they partner with the DDA. Market is home to their weekly farmers market. They also have concerts. Specific about what the effort was: beautification, new roof, cement, and wood damage repairs, extra lighting. They enlisted the help of the local garden club, the Aaron Garden Club. They also talked about their neighborhood revitalization in one of their oldest neighborhoods. Showed us the goals. They highlighted the needs and opportunities. They gave us pictures. And I'm sorry, I do have to move on so that we can have enough time to address the new applications data. But this is part of that same answer from the city of Dublin. And you could see they talked about their Oconee gym renovation. It followed the same model, providing the goals, the needs and opportunities, and a description with data, pictures, and here we see some letters of support. They actually provided 4 letters of support. I just included 2 of the 4. One's from their downtown Dublin, and the other one is from their Chamber of Commerce. You can see they brought in stakeholders from around the community. Okay, so one of our lowest scoring question on the application for renewal is question J. And I provided some just input, provided some review description from our actual reviewers. And question J is, since your initial PlanFirst designation, give 3 examples of how you and your leadership have publicly promoted the local comprehensive plan, fostering local access to the plan by making it generally available to your community. We talked about this one earlier, about the website. Okay, and I'm going to make the decision to be done with our renewal application. Unfortunately, we're just running out of time. So I'm going to pivot over to the new application data, and we're going to finish our time together. I will be taking anybody have a question right now about the renewal application before we move on to new? Courtney Verdier, any tips for larger communities who don't qualify for many of the incentives to still score high on the renewal. Any tips for those communities? You know, I would say that the incentives piece is going to be something where a community your size may honestly have a lot of problems scoring high. I think you're going to have to look elsewhere and talk about your partnerships. I believe City of Marietta is engaged in a lot of great partnerships, and so I would try to find areas around the application that you guys could really lean in and spend a lot more of your time and effort there. That's where I would encourage you. And yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. It's going to be hard to take advantage of some of those incentives for y'all. Okay. Can y'all see the lowest scoring questions of 2025 screen? Sarah? Yeah, I see you, Sarah. Thank you for nodding. I appreciate it.
Yes.
All right. Excellent. Okay. So you can see this is from the new application. Here's the data from last year's application, the lowest scoring from 2025. Question Q is the lowest. Question M was a little bit better.
I
And
have a question. I'm
go
sorry.
ahead, Perry. Go ahead.
About Q, how the community work program is driving the community resource allocation.
Mm-hmm.
May you provide a little more clarity on that?
Sure,
Because
sure.
I'm just kind of confused on that.
Sure. So if you look at your community work program, which is typically found near the end of your comprehensive plan, those are very specific items that are called out, a ton of specificity on what your community wants to spend, what you want to do. And so describe how those projects get funded. How are they funded and how are they staffed? Are those decisions being discussed at council meetings or county commission meetings? Are those decisions happening at your budgeting level with your city county manager? Are they being talked about at department head meetings? How are you specifically allocating your staffing, your human resources, and your actual financial resources into accomplishing those very specific items? Tell us about it. Are you having folks apply for grants? What are those grants? Is it SPLOST dollars? Is it, part of the general fund? Is it from, explain how those very specific items are being accomplished. Does that make sense, Perry?
Yeah, so it's kind of like saying, speak to what has been said at the meetings, speak to the funding sources, speak to how long or the timeline of these fundings or the allocations. Yeah, I get it a little bit
Yep,
better than I think.
that's right. That's right. And I would just start with, I would start with your report of accomplishments, what you did in the last cycle, and say, okay, we accomplished project XYZ. How did we do it? How did we actually do it? And describe that process that went into that. And look at your community work program that you're currently trying to finish. Give us the day-to-day of like how this is being done.
Thank you.
So from 2025, that was last year's application. All told, this was the highest scoring from our 15 new applications. We see that this scored a 4.6. 5 of the 15 applications had this question as their highest score, with an all told average of 4.6 out of 5. And here is an example of the community of Woodstock. They scored the highest, 4.72. And here is their answer. And I'm not going to read it, but I just want to let y'all read it. Woodstock told us what the Planning Commission does, when they meet, their composition. They gave us their schedule. They talked about what sort of cases come before the Planning Commission. They described that the commission members were very active in their recent comprehensive plan update. Planning Commission uses the staff analysis to come to their own decisions, whether a project conforms to the comprehensive plan, and this has been reflected in their votes again and again. And I included the first 3 words. It goes on, the answer goes on, but you will get the point. Talking about the individual. What does that individual bring to the table in terms of their experience? This is stating why each member's input is valued. We already saw their meeting schedule. They do provide a full list of their members, their affiliations, their title, and their background information that is pertinent to the role. Okay, a couple years ago, the highest scoring question in 2024, you could see that this is the same question. And these are some review answers. These are how actual reviewers felt about some of these answers. Good mix of expertise from real estate to finance to community development and historic preservation. Good mix of people, included an agenda example. And here's an actual, this is from City of Camilla from back in 2024. You could see they scored a 4.6. Ms. Cabaness has attended numerous Gaza conferences. Ms. Hill has managed Cottonwood Point Apartments, a housing complex for senior citizens. Got some great background information. This is continued through the City of Camilla. You can see when it was held, where it was held, shows that they're active. Mr. Brown has first-hand knowledge of the regulatory environment. All right. So we talked about the highest scoring, and now we're talking about the lowest scoring. This is from a couple of years ago. Here, this is the lowest scoring question M. Question M is how do you ensure that your planning outreach and engagement activities how do you ensure that your planning outreach and engagement activities are responsive to stakeholders that represent all demographic and socioeconomic backgrounds? Give specific details about your efforts to engage hard to reach populations and underrepresented groups and voices. Provide examples from your previous comprehensive planning process. This is the question that was the lowest scoring question back in 2024. It came in with an average of 3.17. Of the applications that were selected as PlanFirst designees, the selected designees, their average score was a 3.36. This is the City of Augusta's answer, which was the highest scoring answer on this class of answers. This is the highest scoring answer of question M. This talks about planning outreach and engagement, all demographic and socioeconomic backgrounds. Okay. I am going to move on to the end here. We are at 11:28. Put my information up. Couple of minutes. I'll be staying on after the call for any specific questions, and I'll stay on as long as you guys do. So I just wanted to tell you thank you for joining this webinar. As a reminder, this will be uploaded to our website. Here's my contact information. Please feel free to reach out for any additional questions. I see Danielle. I see Sarah Avery. Let me go back up here. All right. Info asks, is there a maximum of cities that can be approved or all eligible can be approved? If you're eligible and you write a great application, you can be approved. That is, it's unlikely that everyone will be approved. We try to identify the best of the best. Sarah, can the city and the county apply as a PlanFirst jointly? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. You have to apply for your own individual jurisdiction. Great question. Danielle says, if a city is in the middle of a comp plan update, you're anticipated to adopt at the end of June this year. Do we prepare our application in reference to the comp plan in place that's already been adopted, or the one that's under revision? I would say both. Remember when I talked about recency, we really want to see what's happening in your local government now, but we also want to know that you've made planning a priority in your community over a long period of time. So please reference the last one. Please also tell us about what ongoing active processes that you guys are engaged in to get the best stakeholder engagement, to have the best ongoing partnerships to accomplish your goals. Great question, Danielle. Happy Easter to you too, Leanne. If an email was sent in regarding eligibility, how long will it be before the email is answered? We generally, I'm in office the rest of the week except for Friday. We should have those answers to you before the end of day Thursday. Robert says, what is the timeline for hearing back regarding designation once it's submitted? If you are not selected, is it a way to see how you scored on the different questions? Great question. These are awesome questions. The timeline is we do make announcements in September. The winners are announced, the designees are announced in September. So you submit it May 15th, and then you will officially hear press release, et cetera, in September. If an application is very clearly, obviously not going to be selected, if the application is just, let me just say that if an application is very obvious to our internal team that is not going to be selected, then it will not go to the second round of reviews. And so I will inform all those communities very early on. I would say probably June or July, that your application was not selected. And then if your application makes it to the second round of reviews, we're talking now in the late July and August timeframe, I will reach out to those individual communities and say, hey, I'm sorry you're not selected. And then closer to September, if you make it through the second round of reviews, we'll let you know in a letter that you have been designated, and then we'll do all the press releases in September. Yes, Michaela, you talked about consolidated governments. Columbus Consolidated Government has been a PlanFirst community. Augusta is a PlanFirst community. So yes, they are one government, and they can apply because they are one local government. Is there any consideration to allowing letters of support as appendix versus in the body? We've talked about that, Mary. Yes, ma'am. I mean, I think one creative way that you can do it is what City of Dublin did last year, and they shrunk down their letters of support. And so that we had four letters of support that we could view, and we just zoomed in on the PDF to see it. And that was a way that they were able to include that to meet that 22-page minimum. Oh, I'm sorry, Robert. I didn't answer your question fully. Yes, something that I have found that the communities really enjoy is if they are not selected, I offer the opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation where I show them their top rated scores and their lowest rated scores, and I provide them actual tangible review information to show you where it fell short. And so we can talk through the answers. We offer that. I've made that available the last 2 years, and folks, applicants really seem to appreciate that information. Additionally, we've found that if a community is not selected and they have the meeting with me and we talk through their application, that their scores improve the following year. Not everyone gets designated the following year, but their scores have certainly improved. And we've had a number of folks that have, like City of Covington is a great example of this, and City of Lawrenceville. Both of those cities applied in 24. Both were not selected. We had the individual 1-hour meeting. We talked through their questions, and in 25 they applied again, and they were both designated. Michaela, yes, there is a page limit for PlanFirst applications. It's 22 pages for the new, and it is 18 pages for the renewal. Thank you, Sheena. Sarah, I see you. We had talked about Community Planning Institute in Seminole County. I don't know if y'all know this, but we are coming down to Bainbridge in the fall. So that could be an opportunity for your local government to come a little bit closer to home. So we are coming the last week of October to Bainbridge, and that is I'll give you the exact dates, Wednesday and Thursday. It's Wednesday and Thursday that last week.
Okay. That's great.
Sheena, that's for you as well.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. That is the 28th and 29th of October, 2026, held in downtown Bainbridge for a Community Planning Institute.
Wonderful. We appreciate you coming closer.
Sure. Happy to do it. Miss Glennis, I hope you come. And yes, Mary, I know you guys are PlanThirsty up in Jasper, and I'm looking forward to your application again.
I'm going to go.
All right. If you got to drop, go ahead. I'll just be here answering questions. Sheena, so we have not opened up success stories requests. And how I've been doing that is we pivoted a little bit to success story webinars. So what we're trying to do, Sheena, is I'm identifying PlanFirst communities, and we are talking on a quarterly basis about different topics. And so we just finished housing part 2. So I specifically reached out to some communities that are PlanFirst to talk about some housing developments that are in their community. And so that's the way that we've done success stories in the last 12 to really it's coming on 15 months now. And we've had a great reception to that as opposed to the submitting the success stories. I would say, you represent Southwestern Georgia. We've had Steve O'Neill and City of Bainbridge, represent a success story in a conference before. And right now, I'm trying to think about a Southwestern Georgia community. City of Camilla might have an opportunity at our next success story. But what I've been doing is reaching out to those local governments that we identify in their comprehensive plan, or maybe we hear about it from our regional representatives or our regional commissions about a specific project that is relevant to that topic. And our next success story webinar is coming up in the summer, and it's about downtown development and downtown revitalization. So I'm absolutely open to hearing if you have a community, particularly PlanFirst communities that you would like to showcase, or that you think have a great project that's worthy of being showcased. Then send that, yes, Ms. Glennis, and then send that to me, and we can discuss it. And yes, so City of Sylvester has done some great success stories, and we've shared that on your community gardens. Michaela, what can a community do that needs the benefits of a PlanFirst but does not have the recent accomplishments to provide? I would say take a look at the whole application and understand that not every applicant scores very high on every part of the application. So this application really gets to the heart of does your community take comprehensive planning seriously? Do the local elected officials value the comprehensive plan? And sometimes, I think you represent a regional commission. Sometimes there's a case where a community say, I really want to get this 0.5% reduction on this water and sewer loan, or we really need to get this economic development EIP, and we want to have, we want to get a LIHTC development, but the community doesn't take comprehensive planning seriously. And so I would say to that community that they would have a challenging time being designated, regardless of their need. This is great that we offer these incentives, but the whole purpose of this designation isn't just to provide incentives. It is to recognize those communities that take it seriously. It's a good question.
Okay, I have another question.
Sure.
Is there a way to see like a general PlanFirst application? Because I remember you mentioning that we probably should consider using these applications as like a guide with comprehensive planning. So is there like a
Sure.
general application we can like use in our communities?
Absolutely, yeah. Our application has been on the website for a few months now. So if you go to our PlanFirst website, you can see. Are you talking about the blank application?
Yes.
Yeah, it's available. So if you go to, I'll pull it up. You can see here, and this, if you scroll down, you could just simply Google DCA PlanFirst. I'm also going to drop this into the chat for y'all.
Thank you.
And you can go down here to access the 2026 applications. And there it is. So you have the PlanFirst Program 2026 application, and then you have the PlanFirst Renewal application. So it creates a download, and there you go. James, I can share, absolutely, I can share Tacoa's application with you. I can do that. Although you helped write the City of Douglas's application, and that was one of the best, if not the highest scoring application I've ever seen on Renewal. So I don't know that you need Tacoa's, but I'm happy to email that to you following this call, James. Absolutely. All right. Any other final questions? We've been on the call for about an hour and 44 minutes. Hearing none, this call is dismissed. Hope you'll have a wonderful day and a happy Easter. Bye-bye.